Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's podcast, we'll be listing myself and Jake's top 10 roller coasters. We've been on quite a few around the world, so we've got a few interesting choices out there. Obviously, this is only our personal opinion. It's not in fact, unfortunately. So obviously, you're more than welcome to have your own thoughts and feelings on certain rides. Obviously, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And also, I will just probably put some pictures of Europa Park in the background. Sadly, none of their rides feature yet, but you never know. They could build an absolute classic ride at some point. So anyway, without further ado, Jake's going to kick us off with his number 10 coaster. And if you'd like to just take it away, chap, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, just to add a little bit to it, sort of thing. Sorry that it's been so long since we've done one of these sort of thing. You know, bit of a pandemic on and everything like that sort of thing. But anyway, let's kick off from number 10, Expedition G-Force for me. Okay, and a ride that we did technically now last September in 2020. When we had the break between lockdowns, and this was a fantastic ride in a tiny little theme park, which was it's one of these ones that is such a joy to go on. It's such a sort of rose in the thorn bush of a ride. It's one of those things that it has no place being in a theme park that small, but wow, it's just incredible. It's just so worth the money just to ride that ride alone. But there's plenty of other good stuff around it, sort of thing, for theme thrill rides more than coasters really. But it's a fantastic ride, just such a great feeling of just great forces and just sort of banking turns and it's such a fantastic ride. What do you reckon?
I really appreciate it. And if we'd done any pre-planning or research before the video started, I could have said that I could include some footage of it, which I still can. But yeah, it has fantastic airtime. It's not the smoothest, but it's not rough. If that makes any sense to people. It has good pacing. Stays pretty fast throughout. It has an okay drop, good but not fantastic. Good restraint system and train, really liked it. There was no queue for it, and the fact that we managed to ride it in pretty much every row, almost, I think, means we managed to get a very good sense of the ride.
I disagree with it. I disagree with it's an okay drop. First drop, I think it's very good.
It's fair enough. I mean, it's just outside my top 10, personally. Would you like to move on to my number 10 coaster?
Go for it.
So my number 10 coaster is Lightning Rod at Dollywood in USA. So a fantastic RMC creation. Has a launch lift hill. Not many rides have that, in all fairness. Some absolutely fantastic airtime. Including obviously the treble down, which is when you're returning back over the hills to the station, and also there's a couple of elements called twists and shouts, and oh my god, the airtime in those were phenomenal, massively underappreciated or undersold how good they were. So overall it's just an airtime filled ride. I personally found it very smooth, very comfortable. Obviously, it has had its issues. Hopefully, they're putting a stop to that since they've started to retrack it with iBox Track and such to make it a bit more of a normal RMC. So hopefully, it will be better again or in the future. But it's a definite top 10 ride there. Really, really good, full of airtime, really smooth, really good drop as well on it, and really fun launch. Obviously, I know it's not in your top 10 to spoil it for people a little bit, but your thoughts on Lightning Rod there, Jakey?
Yeah, I agree with most of it. The more that I keep thinking about Lightning Rod, the more that I think I needed more days. Well, I needed another day at the park to fully enjoy it. I don't know. I think where it had a lot of hype around it, sort of thing, I don't know, it had such a reputation to live up to that I think it was soured a little bit by me. But I completely agree with you. The lift hill was absolutely fantastic. There's some beautiful banking everywhere, and like the quadruple down was, I think it was really good, but I don't know. I think I expected more in my head, which might be what lets it down a little bit for me. But it's still a fantastic ride. Like, I can absolutely see why people rate it so highly in their lists and things like that sort of thing. But yeah, so I'll go to my number 9 now of Maverick at Cedar Point. I think that that was one of the rides where I just thought, wow, just such a, you know, especially from coming from the UK as well. And there is just nothing like that. Like, well, everything in the top 10, there is just nothing like it in there. All of these coasters that I've done have left me going, wow. It's just something different and about these sort of rides for me. And Maverick was just such a fast paced, but also has sort of great moments to sort of slow it down to almost sort of let you catch your breath before accelerating again for another like finale. And what a brilliant ride that is. It's the only thing that I would like, and that's only because it's, because I like a big drop on a roller coaster, is that's literally the only thing that could make that better, I think, because the low to the ground elements of this is just fantastic, and God knows what it would have been like with that Heartline roll. But yeah, obviously I haven't experienced that, but that's I think it's a brilliant ride at the moment anyway, sort of thing. So, but yeah, your thoughts? Or do you want to move on to your next one?
I'm going to leave my thoughts on Maverick for now because it appears in my list a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to talk about the number 9 coaster for me, and a bit of a surprise one because I'm pretty sure it's quite high on your list, but it's Twisted Colossus, located at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California, USA. And the only reason it's a little bit further down the list than I potentially should have it is simply because it really hurt my shins after riding it a few times. But that being said, yeah, I know a little bit crying baby there from me. But yeah, it has absolute 2 fantastic drops, loads of really good airtime. The inversions on it are really fun. It's a really smooth ride for the most part. Some of the transitions are a bit sharp. I think that's where some of the banging on my shins came from. Especially, I think on the green track, you kind of bank one way, then the next really sharply, and it just throws you around a bit, which is fun if you're going to do it like once or twice, but if you're going to go on it multiple times, can be a little bit painful. But overall, the ride is absolutely fantastic. It says a lot that I still rate it extremely highly, despite the fact it was causing me a little bit of discomfort throughout every time. That has been sorted, by the way. I now know how to ride AMCs to get the most out of them. But yeah, at the time, it was the first one I've ever done. And yeah, it blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. It's great in the front row. It's great in the back row. Just an overall fantastic coaster. The operations are a little bit questionable, where it doesn't always race, and the racing element of it is just so good when it does happen. But it just seems that it's more customers or other park goers are a little bit slow to the races, unfortunately, with getting on it and getting ready to go so it can line up. But park can't really do much about that, really. So
yeah, I do. Like I said, I'll talk about it later on in my list more. But to add on to your thing of them not racing as much, sort of thing, I do feel like I know that they have for the West Coast racers. They've designed it so they definitely do race, and I do feel like it should only take a little bit more adjustment on that to make them race throughout the track layout. And I don't think it would take that much PLC input to make that happen. But because I think you could make it do it and have like a button that if for whatever reason there's just a problem getting a train, like say someone struggling to get in, or someone been ill, or whatever the incident may be, sort of thing. You just have a button that they can press to override what happens, and I think that would greatly sort of put the ride sort of higher in people's minds, because I know that is a criticism that people have about it, because that is something that they advertise about it, and a lot of the photos and just media shots will be showing it racing, sort of thing. And I think sometimes you think, oh well, isn't that supposed to happen all the time, sort of thing? But yeah, I think a little bit more effort by Six Flags, and I think that would be a winning combination for them, really. So, but anyway, on to my number 8. My was it the roller coaster that I would say got my love for going on multiple trips to different places around the world is Shambhala in Spain. My God, that first drop is just something else. If you've never been on like a coaster of that nature, and then you experience something like that for the first time, it is just eye-opening to the whole experience of it. It was just, I came off of it and I was shaking with just so much adrenaline, and it was just the best feeling in the world. And that's now why I go around the world to different places to try these rides, because that experience was just amazing. Like all these roller coasters that we're listing are the reasons why we go to all these places to try these different rides out, because they're just such an exciting experience. And Shambhala was just something different, like just down to like the theming of the area. Like it's not heavily themed per se, but it's just little bits of it that I think just add to the thing. The water features with it of thing was just beautiful. Like the I do forget the element. Is it the treble clef? Is it
that's on Fury, but
no. Oh, sorry. What's
the figure 8 element on Shambhala?
Figure 8. Sorry, the figure 8 element on there, and that's just what a fantastic element that is to go through, sort of thing. The only sort of slight downside that you would say with it is the last third or a quarter, however you want to sort of say it. It's a little bit tame, but like it's worth it before that anyway, sort of thing. It's sort of, if anything, it would probably just if it carried on at that same pace, I think your heart probably wouldn't take it for some people, I think, at least anyway. But yeah, what just magical one. And I know that's higher up in your list.
Yeah. I'll talk about it myself a little bit later. Once again, yeah, it's rather high on the old list for me. I will though talk about my number 8 coaster, and it is Helix at Liseberg in Sweden. And this is actually a really weird coaster for me, because potentially it shouldn't be in the top 10 anymore. But having looked back at it on reflection, I'm like, oh boy, is it a good roller coaster! It does so much. It's like literally all the coasters you want in one. The only thing I will say, a little bit like with what you said about Maverick, it doesn't have a particularly big drop. And as a strange thing, it did originally have a massive drop. when they were originally designing the ride, and then they decided to remove it. But what it does have is an absolutely amazing soundtrack. It has 2 really cool launches, 7 really good inversions, plenty of airtime, near misses. It interacts with elevations and stuff like that. It's just an overall really fun ride. It looks really good. I really like the color scheme for it as well. It's really comfortable. It rides really well. It's really smooth. It just ticks so many boxes. There's so little negatives for it. It's just one of the things. It's really good in the front row. It's really good in the back row. It's just a really good ride. There's lots of little really cool systems as well for it, which just really work nicely. I believe it was one of the ones I'm thinking of where like the bins actually like shut themselves and stuff like that, look really secure. Just loads of little details like that. It's just an overall really, really good attraction. Well worthy of being number 8, and a ride which sadly we weren't able to get on this year or last year, I should say, but hopefully in the near future we'll be able to get back to Liseberg and go on it because it's a solid ride. Anything to add to that, Jakey?
Yeah, fortunately for me, it was my number 11 sort of thing, just being kicked out of the top 10 by Expedition GeForce. But I mean, on its day, you could probably argue either way for some of these rides, sort of thing. Because Helix, I would describe it some ways as it's kind of like the nemesis of its sort of type of of just that type of ride, because it like there are bigger elements on similar rides, there are better drops, there's better things, but it uses its layout and the terrain and everything to its advantage, and it's just so thrilling. I think where they've got such limited space in Liseberg, and they can sort of use the where they've got the terrains and other coasters and other attractions right next to it, you really get a element of speed with it, which it's not even overly that fast, really, because like you say, there's faster rides and all this sort of stuff, but it's just, you just come off of it and you can't help but smile. Like I can't, well, I wouldn't want to be friends with anyone who didn't come off of that and not smile. It's such a brilliant ride. But yeah, wow. But yeah, so my number 7 is Leviathan, and in Canada, and oh my god, I'm trying to think. Was that my first Giga Coaster? I'm trying to remember. I think it was, and oh my god, it was. That first drop was just something else. It really was, and I think definitely I had quite a bit of space between me and the clamshell restraint sort of thing, because oh my god, I flew out of my seat, and wow, just the first sort of bits of it, because it's a very, very simple ride. That's the only criticism that I can really have of it, but boy does it do it well. It is of the probably, out of all the Giga Coasters, it is definitely the most. It's not the most tame, but it's definitely in the lower half of it. But it's just exciting though. It's the airtime that you get on some of it was just phenomenal. I could not believe how much flow to you got in certain sections of it, and I think it's a lot of it is about that drop and that speed that you get from it. And I definitely think with that little tunnel that they've just got there, well, I say tunnels, like it does feel like a bit of a shed sort of thing to go in there, sort of thing. But my God, what a exciting experience it is in there. And I know you've got it a little bit higher, I believe, sort of thing. So we'll, if you carry on to your number 7, you can say your piece about it.
You won't have to wait very long for the Leviathan review from myself. Number 7 for me, and it's a ride we've already had, but it's Maverick at Cedar Point. This Intamin coaster opened in 2007, and I'll tell you what, for a long time it was the best ride in the park. It just does a lot of things very well. It's also quite similar to Helix in many ways, and it's just a ride type that I think I really enjoy. So it has just so many different elements like inversions, airtime, high speed turns, really good drops and twists and stuff like that. And it's all just thrown into one. I love the fact this has a really powerful, good launch. The Beyond Vertical drop's great fun as well. The 2 moments of airtime on this ride are fantastic. Proper ejector. It actually is really scenically pretty as well. Like, it's not particularly themed or anything, and it just uses leftover bits from a previous ride for most of the station and queue line. But it just looks very, kind of just well done. It's a pretty smooth roller coaster. It's comfortable for the most part, other than the seat, which is really painful. And oh my god, does it need just a little bit of padding? But it just ticks a lot of boxes. Obviously, you were right to point out about the Heartline roll, because oh my god, the videos I've seen of that thing, it just rips through it. Not sure it would have been particularly safe for them to keep having it there, but
it would have been nice to have experienced it though.
Yeah, definitely so. It has really good throughput, really good operations. It looks really good.
It really does say everything about it when the caliber of roller coaster that they have in that park, and it's always busy when we're in there. But we're not waiting forever to get on there because, like you say, of its incredible throughput. It's just you don't feel like you've been there for hours. It feels like half an hour sometimes, sort of thing. It might be a bit longer sometimes in a few of the queues that we've been in, but it's really good, and it's really nicely themed as well in bits of it as well. Just sort of, it's got that, especially in the queue line at least. Anyway, I think the queue line's very nicely done. But yeah, what a fantastic ride! I can completely understand why it's higher up on the list for you, sort of thing. It's brilliant. Now another one, which is going to be slightly different for each of us, is mine is El Toro. That's in New Jersey.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Now that is definitely the best wooden roller coaster I've been on. Well, at least pure sense of wooden roller coaster. The first half of that ride is just astonishing. Just wow. Just some of the just the drop to start with is so fast. You just don't believe like a wooden roller coaster can take that amount of just speed. You think it would be forever breaking down, but oh my god, it's just fantastic, and it's just beautiful ejector airtime that you get on the top of that next hill, and then sort of do your turn back round, and then you're going through a sort of rolling thunder hill sort of thing, and oh wow, that's fantastic. Now the bit where the sort of the sore point for Macazir, and sort of even I will agree for myself, sort of thing, that it is a little bit rough in the sort of next part of it. I will admit, I think it does need a little bit of retracking, sort of thing, but it was so good to that point. I think that might be the reason it's not higher. I really do think, because it is a masterpiece of wooden roller coasters. It really is one of the gold standard sort of thing. And I mean, that and the Voyage, it's just fantastic sort of thing. Just beautiful coasters. Cannot recommend to go on it and that sort of thing. So what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was waiting for this to come back to me. Weirdly, it's we're going to get this straight out of the way. It's actually not in my top 10. It is a ride that I really do like. It's an amazing wooden roller coaster, an amazing roller coaster. in general. But as you say, I just find after the Rolling Thunder Hill, it's literally like someone's just gone, oh, this bit from Stampede is really good. I just like glued that onto the rest of it. Honestly, if it after the Rolling Thunder Hill, if it just turned back to the station, it would be a better ride. But anyway, as for the other points, it probably has the best drop out of any roller coaster in the world I've experienced so far. The drop is fantastic. The 2 airtime hills after the drop are ridiculously good, unbelievable, right up there in terms of ejector airtime. The turnaround, and there's a little kind of like floater hill average, okay. I happen to also be a huge fan of the turnaround which goes over like the drop, the main drop. That bit's actually really cool because it's quite intense and fast. And then the Rolling Thunder Hill was just biblically good. You could just see people in front of you just like if they're not expecting it, they get fully caught out and they just go flying upwards. So all of that is phenomenal. And honestly, there was a point during the ride where I was like, this is right up there. And then the last third of it is just so it's not only is it quite boring, but it's just rough and uncomfortable. And it's one of the things. It's like I know you could look at it and be like, oh, things like you said, Tristan Colossus, it was painful and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that's only after X amount of rides. This happened for ride 1, and it's also the last thing you experience as well before getting off. Like if it was the other way around, where that was all like a pre-lift section, and then you got off as the last thing you did was some of those hills, you'd probably think it was amazing. And I still really like it. That's the important thing. I still think it's really good. It's a ride, obviously. I'm really happy to have gone on. But yeah, it just didn't. It's really weird. It both did live up to expectations because what people said was good about it did. But I think no one really talks about what it doesn't do well. Or it's kind of been like, a little bit. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong for your viewpoint of it, but it's like I think people are maybe a bit lenient on it. So
yeah, I can definitely understand. I do think you're right in the sense of you can't. I'd be hard pushed to say that you can't say it's not rough. That last bit of it, it has to be, but I think the ride does enough throughout that it keeps it high enough in there. I completely understand the point of it leaves that sort of bitter aftertaste sort of thing when you've had such a good experience, and I can see why that would sour your opinion a bit, sort of thing. And I can see why it doesn't quite get into your top 10. But yeah, no, I think it does enough for me that it stays in there, sort of thing. I think, like you say, where the drop is just phenomenal, that I think it's just worth it for that reason alone. But anyway, on to your number 6.
I was going to say I was waiting for you to move on there about letting me tell me what my actual number 6 coaster is, but it is Leviathan that we've just had, and pretty much for most of the same reasons. It's a very smooth, comfortable ride. The first drop is really good. It has good airtime moments. All of the elements are really big as well, so they all stand out. It is rapid. It just absolutely hurtles through the track. Had pretty good operations and capacity for the most part, and it's just a ride which I think just really, it was a really good starting point for our first like proper like America, Canada sort of trip, and it just did so many things well, just really well. Really comfortable trains, just generally a pretty solid layout. You covered most of the bases with your review. Yes, the tunnel is a bit of a joke. It just looks like a little bit like with the Pepsi Max big one, where they've just put a couple of like the Pepsi cans by the side. Just looks a bit like that. They were like, "That's a great idea there." We copy that.
Although I will say it does give a little bit of a where you get that sort of noise change. It just changes the sort of atmosphere a little bit with it, sort of thing, which is a bit exciting sort of thing when you sort of go through it, because it is a kind of quote unquote near miss element per se, sort of thing. It could be a little bit more jazzed up, to say the least, sort of thing, like that. Like they've got the a beautiful sign of Leviathan there. It could have been a Leviathan head in that bit, really, if they really wanted to do it. But yeah, obviously now they're not going to spend the money on doing that. It would be a bit pointless, and I can understand why. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic ride though as a whole. Oh, anyway, number 5 for me, Intimidator 305. Fantastic roller coaster. Just one of the sort of themes that you can sort of see for a lot of the coasters that I've been on is it's either fast or it's intense or a combination of the both sort of thing. And this is definitely one of the both sort of sections of it, because the drop on that is fantastic, followed by that right hand turn. Lord knows what that must have been like when it was tied to a grip. Like it's one sort of like slightly gutting experiences that I couldn't have been on it when it had a tighter sort of radius on the bottom right hand turn. But I've heard one review of it saying that wasn't that intense, and I don't understand how someone could get off that and not think that's an intense experience. That is the hardest I've ever grayed out on a ride. That was incredible sort of bit. And there's some I will slightly concede that it can be the final sections of it are not very they're hardly trailblazing, the sort of section afterwards, but it's fast, it's snappy, it's sort of got like they've themed it off for sort of NASCAR sort of thing, of just very intense cornering and very fast speeds. It's a fantastic ride to be on, sort of thing. It was such a experience to just be on it, sort of thing. And I can't decide whether I like the front or the back more. I can't decide it, sort of thing. It is the classic of this experience of, do you want the wind in your face or do you want the snap over the drop sort of thing in the back? And it's they are both as good as each other, in my opinion, sort of thing. So it would be interesting to know what other people think about it, sort of thing. And what do you think on the ride?
So this was actually in my top 10 for a little bit, because it is, as you said, it's really fast. It's obviously very intense. Has a couple of really good airtime moments. The reason it isn't is I just don't think it does quite enough for its layout. It is snappy, very whippy. It has lots of transitions and such, but it doesn't necessarily have the best restraint system for that. Obviously, it is actually in there to stop you falling out in case you grey out or black out, which is quite likely. Obviously, you're right. It does have a great theme. Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator. That's about all I know about NASCAR. So if that ever comes up in the pub quiz, winning. And it is also meant to be a kind of a combination of Maverick and Millennium Force. So they've kind of put those together, and that's the kind of result. I can also tell you it was a huge failure for the most part, if Alto Orion's video is meant to be believed, where it didn't have the desired effect, which rather interesting. It's a great ride, no doubt, just outside the top 10 for me, but it's very fun.
Although it's sort of, you're going on, it's still a fantastic ride as a whole. I mean, it's sort of, I think it's, with a lot of these rides, you have to be very nitpicky with a lot of the bits to sort of really come off of it, sort of thing. Because I mean, we came off of it and went, that was breathtaking, sort of thing. Great ride. So what's your number 5 there?
So actually, it happens to be another somewhat intense roller coaster, and it's Taron at Phantasialand in Germany. So this ride opened up pretty recently in the new Klugheim section of the park, and oh boy, does it tick a lot of boxes. So I mean, we're gonna just start. It's one of these things where this topic shouldn't really make too much of a difference most of the time, but for this ride it really does, and that is the theming and like immersion of the land and the ride. It is just next level. It is so good. Just everywhere you look, it's extremely photogenic. It looks really pretty. And then as for the ride itself, it has two launches. The first is good. The second can only be described as brutal, and it's just ridiculous. One of the best parts of the ride ever. I don't know if you remember seeing this, but when we were waiting in the morning to go on it, they were actually doing testing for it. And they had obviously just a staff member or like a mechanic on it and stuff like that. And he was just going around the layout and stuff like that. He's obviously been on it loads of times, such like that. Got to the second launch, and only on the second launch did he go, woo, as it went. And it just probably goes to show that how good that element is, that it's exciting to someone who's probably been on it hundreds of times. It's a smooth ride, had really good operations, throughput. Obviously, fantastic themes, as we said. Has airtime, it's intense. It interacts with the walls and stuff like that, and goes through buildings. The other ride in the area, it's just a fantastic ride. It just ticks so many boxes. I'm a huge fan of these kind of very much complete rides, and like the Taron, Maverick, and Helix are all somewhat similar in their kind of like layout and design, or how the ride is. I'll tell you what, it does say a lot that when like Velocicoaster opens up, how I wonder where that would rank, because it seems that sort of ride is very much my type. Anyway, I'll put your thoughts on that, Jakey. There.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Terra unfortunately isn't in my top 10. It's still in my top 20 though. But it's like you say, it. I think its biggest advantage is where it uses the terrain, well, its own self-made terrain, so well. And it's so fast and it's nippy. It's just got some beautiful tight turns here, and where you're flying over people walking over. You get that real emphasis of speed and how close you are to stuff. And it is such a brilliant coaster. It is something that I really hope the UK look at getting in that sort of way. Now, I know Icon is similar in nature, but that one is more geared towards a sort of a more family element, which it makes complete sense at Blackpool. I completely understand why they've done it. I do think somewhere like the Alton Towers, the Thorpe Parks or something like that would be very good. Or hopefully, fingers crossed, the new London Park, if that ever does get open, sort of thing. Something like that would be a well-received ride, I think, for it. But yeah, the only negative that I can think of it on the thing is you can't select your row. You get assigned it, which that is definitely one major thing that I do not like, sort of thing. I do understand why they do it, but I think you can just it works on many other coasters. There's no reason why it can't do thing, because it's like, I understand if the queue for the front or the back is like spilling out over the sides, right, and they're sort of like saying no, you just got to get onto one of the things. In those circumstances I can understand, but no, otherwise it's a fantastic ride. But anyway, my number 4, which is also your number 4, is Fury 325, which, oh my god, what I can absolutely see why people call this their number 1 coaster. It is phenomenal. It's just it is one of the crowning jewels in the B&M line, sort of thing. It's just got everything that you want in there. The first drop is just beautiful, just heavenly. It really is. And then it's where it lacks in any theming, which I don't really mind. I don't think it's the be all and end all. It's definitely lovely to have, like we were saying in for like Taron's case and all that. But I think where it sort of splits between the North and South Carolina border is just a beautiful, bit of work, because I think whoever designed it to do that, especially going right past the front gate as well, is just it gets you really excited before going into the park, and to go, whoever designed it to have an underground part for where you literally walk over where the track is laid out, that is a genius move to do, because it is smooth, it is fast, it is also intense at the same time. Oh, I don't want to, completely take all the sort of adjectives. So what does it make? What does it feel like for you?
I mean, there was going to be a point there where I could have just been like, "Oh, what he said,"
Yeah,
but yeah, the first shop's fantastic. It is, incredible. It's glossy smooth, really nice. Yeah, has great interaction with the front gate. Actually has some decent moments of airtime towards the back end of the ride, which is really cool. It's a really long ride, has great speed. The operations are insane. I think I remember hearing one of the operators saying how many trains they'd gone through, or so that, and it was like 44 trains in the hour or so. It was in the 40s, and it was just like, that's a ridiculous amount for dispatches. Like, so it has phenomenal operations. Just really good throughput. I mean, we were never queuing more than like 15, 20 minutes for it. It's amazing in the
yeah,
front row and amazing in the back row. It's so re-rideable. You could just literally go around. It's like, if there was ever a time where it's like, oh no, you're gonna have to go around again. Oh dear. Oh. Yeah, it's just an absolutely stunning roller coaster, and yeah, rightfully at number 4,
yeah,
a must ride. I
yeah,
think for pretty much anyone.
yeah, yeah. It's just, it is that is, I can, like I said, I can completely understand why someone could put it as their number one. It is just beautiful. It is such a fantastic roller coaster to be on. Even, and like at night as well, that is a fantastic ride sort of thing. It's just where it lights up and everything. It's just, yeah, it just, I know it's obviously definitely a big expense, but you could definitely sort of go, look how good this is for this park, and how much attraction it must. I mean, since that's open, that the attendance must have gone up. I'll be gobsmacked if it hasn't, sort of thing. It's just it is something that will bring people to your park, and it's just, oh yeah, I can't say enough good things. I think the only thing that I actually don't like about the roller coaster is I don't like the merch. That's about it. That's about the only thing I'm not a fan of, sort of thing. I think it's a bit garish, to say the least, sort of thing. But otherwise, I think it is a just a it is nearly perfect.
I'm not a fan
Sort of
of that
thing.
locker policy. There we
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh right.
are.
Yeah,
I thought you may have
yeah,
forgotten that one.
yeah. I did forget about that. Yeah,
Hey, see the fair. I want our Michigan Adventure souvenir cup bag.
yeah, yeah,
Oh dear. Yeah, I think we've kind of bowed down to Fury long enough, and it's time to
yeah.
move on to number 3, uh, which I'll leave open to you to
Yeah.
start with.
So we might as well um, talk about this one together, although this isn't in your number 3 spot, sort of thing. Just to um, sort of say this out, is Twisted Timbers. Now that is it is a it just, wow, it is a RMC that is just a where you've taken a ride which was pretty meh, to say the least, and of hurler, and you've created something that is going to be there for years to come, and it's just a testament to how innovating RMC is, and oh, I'm kind of lost for words, so I think I'll let you do it because I know how much this means to you. This ride.
I might suggest that I talk about my actual number 3 quickly
All right, go
first,
for it.
and
Go
then
for it. Yeah.
I'll kick off the number 2 spot as a bit of a hint to where it is.
Yeah.
So my actual number 3 coaster is Shambhala, obviously at Fuerteventura, which obviously Jake absolutely racked lyrical about earlier, and I completely agree with him. And the reason it's up so high, and it's the same with all the top 3 coasters, is it actually felt like I was just walking on air after riding it, like properly, just felt this unbelievable, just like adrenaline rush from it. Like, oh my god, this trip has been completely worth it because of this ride. It's just got amazing airtime, phenomenal drop. It's pretty well themed. It's incredibly smooth. It only has the like the lap bar clamshell restraint to keep you in, so you're actually really free, but still really secure. Has a great near miss at the bottom of the drop. The water splashdown, despite being slightly fake, is still just a really cool photo opportunity and just looks great. The figure 8 elements, fantastic. The train seating and layout's really good. And this ride in the back row, like on the right hand side or left hand side, one of the two is just ridiculous. Try either. It's well worth it. Like there's a couple of magic seats on this ride. It's one of those things where it's like, I was so happy to go back to it and be able to get a front row ride as well. It's just ticks all the boxes. And we're going to go straight from Shambhala because Jake has kind of left it open for Twisted Timbers. And yeah, this is actually my number 2 coaster. So a bit of a change in the order here. And this is up here again because I literally got 2. I'm just going to describe them as god tier rides on this thing where the airtime was just ridiculous. Like more than I've got on El Toro, more I've got on like Fury, Twisted Colossus, Lightning Rod. More than some of those combined, by the way. It was just every single hill, and there's about 20 moments of airtime on the ride, and I got ridiculous airtime on every single one of those elements. And I mean, I was fully out my seat, fully. And I'll put it this way: it was so good that I continually consider putting it at number 1. I shouldn't, but I continually do. So yeah, it has a great layout, phenomenal airtime. There was no queue, so we managed to go on it multiple times. Has an extremely strange locker policy, and like giving out little cards before you go on the ride. But it is what it is. But the ride itself is just ridiculously fun. Has a great drop. Another couple of good inversions throughout the ride there. It was insanely smooth, really comfortable. It just ticks those boxes. And also there's some really good policies as well, like the one where you can stay on if you've only ridden it once. It's like, that's such a good policy. Makes perfect sense to me. It looks really good off ride as well. And even though it isn't particularly heavily themed or well themed, it just has enough to add a bit of a story to it. And I'm also a huge fan of the tree out front. I don't know why, it just looks really cool. I think I've literally covered absolutely everything about that there.
I just completely agree with you. It's just such it is probably one of 2, maybe 3 rides that I've ever heard you come during the ride just giggling. Like you just can't you can't I know that exact feeling where you're on the ride and you're just going through it, and instead of screaming you're just giggling because you just can't believe what you're going through. It's just such what an experience that was, sort of thing. Because in some ways, I'm surprised it's not ranked higher for some people, sort of thing. I don't know what it is particularly about it. I just think it's such a brilliant experience as a whole. I think it's brilliant. The staying off experiences.
It's the best small scale RMC. It's just ridiculous. Like, and you are right. I was properly like, I actually, when I was put into Breakpoint, I couldn't believe the ride I'd had. I was like it was literally like that is right up there. Like
that. I mean, this is the thing for me. Every single one that we've talked about, and including Helix at number 11, I've come off of every single my first ride on all of them. I've come off either just breathless and gobsmacked, or giggling and just can't. I can't believe what I've been on. And it's just, and that is for me. That's almost what puts it into in the top 10 for me, sort of thing. You have to come off of a ride and go, oh my god, that was so much fun, and yeah, that's really why number 2 for me is Twisted Colossus. So where we went on that, and we went with our friend. You two went into one train, and I went into another train because it's like we could have been on the same train, and we definitely did go on it on the same train, but to experience, dueling, each other going through a layout, and especially that sort of like the Top Gun element and the high five element, and it was one of those sort of magical sort of ones where you're like, this is like the purest sense of fun, and for me, and it was just a brilliant experience overall. Like when I was riding it, I was riding with a stranger, and when I got to the halfway point and going back up the lift, I was speechless, sort of thing. I was so thing, and he just goes, "Oh, is it your first time? Is it?" Sort of thing. I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, this is my home park, and this is just so much fun to do." I'm like, "Yeah, you're so lucky." Oh wow, what it was! Yeah, like you say, it's just got those standout elements, and it's not a. I wouldn't even say there's nothing complex about most of it, sort of thing, other than those standard, like the Top Gun element is definitely the signature traction for it, sort of thing. And and like we've said before in your part of it, it doesn't always duel, which is the bit that needs to be. I think it does need to be addressed a little bit, but when it does duel, and especially if you've got friends in different trains of it, it is. And like we had a few of those. Yeah, I think we had 2 or 3 times that it happened, and it's just that is just the best feeling in the world, sort of thing, because it's just, I don't know. It was just, I can't describe how much fun that was to get off, and then I get into the station while you're going round on the second part of that, sort of thing, and I'm just waiting for you to come off, and I'm saying to you, "Oh my god, you've got to experience the back," and you're saying to me, "Oh, you've got to experience the front. It's incredible." And it's just that. Oh wow, it was just such a brilliant time. I can't. Oh, yeah, can't even put into words how good it was, sort of thing. But that then leads us on to our number 1, and it is a joint number 1, and
it is.
I think we need to explain the story of how we first rode.
I'll leave that up to you. But what we will say is number 1 for both of us is Steel Vengeance at See the Point, which is a lot of people's number 1, in fairness, and you can see why. But the story leading to it is pretty fantastic. So if you'd like to take it away, Jakey, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah. So this was our biggest road trip that we've ever done, and we started in Chicago. We did Six Flags, Great America up there, and that's a fantastic park as well, sort of thing. Fortunately, none of them in the top 10, but still a brilliant park. So we were leaving Chicago, and we decided on the trip that we wanted to go to Michigan's Adventure. Now, definitely not a top tier destination sort of park to go to, but I will absolutely say on it that Shivering Timbers is an absolute gem of a ride. Like it is one of those ones, like Expedition G-Force, where that ride alone is worth going to Michigan's Adventure for. I really do believe that it was a incredibly intense experience on there, and wow, what a phenomenal one. Anyway, we knew that there wasn't many rides to do there, and we decided, right, we'll go there, we'll use our dining passes there, and can get some food, and then we'll drive on to we'll drive on to Cedar Point afterwards, sort of thing. We had a little pit stop to a town called Hell, which I've heard about, which was lovely. So we can definitely say that we've been to Hell and back, and I've got a screenshot on the Google Maps saying "Welcome to Hell," which is definitely one of my prized possessions that I've got now, sort of thing.
Definitely so.
But we never intended to go to Cedar Point. We had, I think, 2 or 3 days at the park. I want to say 2, but I can't remember off the top of my head, sort of thing. But there was just a point where we knew that, because we knew that it was going to be closing at midnight, and it was definitely getting later and later in the day. But all of a sudden, we were just sort of looking at the time and going, this might be doable if there's no delays at all. So we, keeping at the speed limit, obviously, going through there, and we thought, right, we didn't know whether our sort of motel would be accepting it after midnight, so we thought we need to make sure that our room is sorted beforehand. So we definitely needed to do that. And it was getting closer and closer, and it got to about 11:30, and we were like, "Oh, this is very cutting it close." So we checked in and sort of threw our bags into the room, and we drove into Cedar Point, thinking, let's give this a chance. It may or may not. They may or may not let us in. I don't really know. We didn't know what their policy would be like, but we thought we can always give it a go, and there's no hardship if it's not. But they let us in.
Well, as we had the platinum passes for Cedar Fair, we weren't losing anything with it. So
no, that's a good point to add, sort of thing. But we did think, and it didn't matter. We could, if they turned us away, they turned us away. Like, it was only a bit of a look into it, and we didn't know whether the back of the park, that car park and entrance, would be open at that time. So we thought, let's try through the main entrance, and they let us through. So we were like, right, that's part 1 of it done. We now need to get there before they stop letting people go through. And we had, I think, 15 minutes left before it got to midnight, from what I remember. And I would say we ran 2/3 of it, sort of thing, because it was we were very tired that day, sort of thing. That was and it's a long run, sort of thing, down there. But we did book it down there, but we got into the queue for it, and we could then calm ourselves down, because we still had a long wait to go. Even though that we were right at the end of the day for it, and we then finally get onto the ride, and we were going to ask for the back row. I thought, let's try and ask for it. No harm in asking. Worst he's going to say is no. And I was just about to ask, can we wait for the back row? And he said, do you want to go in the front row? Which we gladly accepted. I mean, you're not going to say no to a front row at like 1 a.m. on Steel Vengeance. That is just something you can't say no to. And once we were in there, wow! I mean, what a ride! I mean, it was definitely one of the roller coasters that I was the most looking forward to, but the most nervous I was because it's been hyped up so much, and it was said that it was pretty much the best roller coaster in the world. Which, when you're getting a lot of people saying it, sometimes it can be bigged up too much. We found this experience on Millennium Force. We went in the back row, and we came off of that ride, and we both looked at each other and we went, that was not as good as we were like. It was good, but it just wasn't as good as we expected until we went in the front row. But oh my god, Steel Vengeance was everything that I wanted, and more that I even knew that I wanted. And just the whole layout was just brilliant. It is one of the best paced roller coasters it is the best paced roller coaster I've ever been on. It says a lot when, even though the first drop is fantastic, it is completely and utterly overshadowed by the sort of Outer Bank turn that comes up. Oh my god,
What an experience! Ridiculous.
What an experience that was. It was it's just an experience that was. And like, especially on that first night when we were riding it, the rest of it felt like it just sort of, I almost forgot about a lot of the ride per se, in the sense of I was having so much fun. I couldn't, I couldn't be in the moment. I was too much in the moment that I couldn't really explain what happened until it got to the little sort of bunny hops at the end of the ride. That was pretty much like what I remembered on the first night. And you sort of, at the time when you're getting off of the ride and you're walking back to your car, and I'm like, I'm sure that is probably the best thing I've been on, but I had to wait until the next day to really cement it in, sort of thing, and just prove that it wasn't just a delirious being extremely tired from a long drive. And oh my god, it's just the best experience I've ever had on a roller coaster. Just there with my mate, front row, 1 a.m, at night, and it's just the best. Yeah, it was just the best roller coaster. And I mean, what do you think of it, sort of thing? I know I've rambled on, but yeah, it's just
above. You're obviously incredibly right. I absolutely love the little detail of the guy asking. I don't know why, that just made it just really sweet for some reason. Where it's just like the fact that it was just like, it doesn't really matter where we go, but if we can get the back row, that'd be great. And it's just like, do you guys want the front? It's like, yeah, I think so. Obviously, the ride has a really good drop, amazing, phenomenal airtime. Has floater ejector. It's fast, it's smooth, it's intense. It has a stupid loose items policy, but we'll ignore that because that doesn't fit the narrative of it being the best ride in the world. It's just awe-inspiring roller coaster and was well worth getting on. And I'd recommend it to pretty much anyone. It just ticks so many boxes, and the ride itself is. I can't really think of anything particularly off of it.
The only way that I can see it getting bad is if they don't maintain the ride well. That's the only thing that I can see it going wrong per se. But I can't I can't be sort of saying things like that really until it happens. For now, it's just fantastic. I mean, I know that a lot of where we're in Europe or in the UK now, sort of thing is we don't get to go there a lot, sort of thing. We can go there for a certain amount of time, but oh my god, what a lasting impression that has on the thing. And it's you just makes you want to go back so badly, sort of thing. It's just I just can't, like, unless you don't like intense rides, sort of thing, which is understandable. I can understand why people are not a fan of an intense ride, but it's just fantastic. Every element in it is just it just fits everything for me. It's just got a bit of everything that you want. It's got the speed, it's got the airtime. It's just got, it just throws you left and right, but in a comfortable way as well. It's not like a sort of like trying to wrench you out of anywhere sort of thing. But the the just the beautiful airtime with just bit of floater, a bit of ejector airtime. The sort of like that again. I can't say enough good things about that Outer Bank turn. It's just, until you've experienced
Points
it.
made. Point. It's really good.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it says a lot when a lot of other manufacturers are now quote unquote copying that element. Yeah, and it's just, what a brilliant experience, sort of thing. I mean, yeah, for me at least anyway. This I very much struggle to know what's going to beat this sort of thing. Like, there is obviously Iron Gwazi that's sort of around the corner, which obviously beats most of the records that Steel Vengeance has. But in some ways, I don't know whether it will beat it. In some ways, I do want it to beat it, because I always want to say there is a better ride out there, but it's very, very hard to think of what you can add on to it unless you make a humongous, a giga version of it or something like that. I don't know how you. I really don't know how you do it. I mean, it's just whoever, the designers of that ride definitely deserve a pat on the back, to say the least.
They did a pretty good job for the most part. I do also remember one little thing from the ride. I think it's either the third or fourth inversion, when you're in the structure and doing the inversion, and then as we came out of it, not sure which way up was anymore, which was a really interesting way. It's like, whoa, it's just like, what? I'm not sure what will beat it. I mean, obviously there's the new Mega Coaster opening in Wallaby, Belgium, which looks pretty damn good, in all fairness. Obviously, as you said, Iron Gwazi looks really good. Obviously, Zadra, obviously a lot of good talk about that. So there's plenty of rides out there. So let's see if any more can be added to the top 10 lists in the coming years. Anyway, Jakey, I think it's probably time to end the podcast there. Thank you very much for your time this evening. It's been much appreciated. And hopefully you guys will join us on the next one, whenever the hell we decide to do another one. Need a topic first. And also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. And I'll catch you later.